Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for an important and timely webinar about the role that the business community in the Poconos can play in making sure that workers are ready to vote. We'll be talking about our Ready to Vote PA Toolkit, which is available for businesses to download at www.bfa.us/Pennsylvania. I'll share that link in the chat function, and I also want to let everyone know that we are recording today's webinar. We'd like to also acknowledge and thank our co-hosts who helped us in spreading the word about today's webinar and share in our important discussion, the Greater Pocono Chamber of Commerce and Seal and Management. I'd also like to formally introduce our panelists for today and thank them for being so generous with their time. First, I'd like to introduce PA State Representative Rosemary Brown. She has been serving the 189th Legislative District since 2011 and serves as a member of the House of Appropriations, Education, Professional Licensure, and the Transportation Committee. Next, we have PA State Representative Maureen Madden. She's been serving the 115th Legislative District since 2017. She serves on the Agricultural and Rural Affairs, Education, and Tourism and Recreational Development Committees. Jennifer Narkvich is the owner of My Girl Marketing Consultancy and won a 2019 Busy Award for Best Small Business, and she was the 2019 Pocono Chamber of Commerce Volunteer of the Year. She's also co-chair of the Chamber's Digital Strategy Committee. Next, we have Gil Coronado and his PR and marketing company, Seal and Management, since 2011 are highly visible and on air at many events throughout the region. Most notably, Gil produces the Beautiful Day Un Dio Bonito TV show seen throughout the region, and he is the founder of the Shawnee River Fest. Finally, we have DJ Ruby. She wears many hats, but you probably know her from DJing at events around the region and as the manager and event coordinator at Blue Tequila Bar and Lounge in East Stroudsburg. Now I'd like to hand things over to our moderator for this afternoon's call, BFA State Director Joe Pertucci.
Thank you, Alex. There are a few different ways that I like to describe our work at Business for America, but before I get into that, I just want to acknowledge that it has become difficult to talk about anything except some of the shared pain and the uncertainty that we're all experiencing as a nation. And, you know, the coronavirus pandemic has threatened our health, our economy, our way of life, and in many cases, our unity. And I know this all too well myself. I'm a former journalist who got his start at the Pocono Record some 20 plus years ago. And much of the last decade, I've helped my wife run her catering company down in Delaware County. I've handled sales and marketing for our family business, which my wife started when she was laid off from her previous job. And she grew it into a regional leader. It's now gone, unfortunately, because of the coronavirus. I've spent the last several weeks helping pack up boxes and close the books on the business. So, you know, we've all been challenged in some way these last few months. I like to share a recent Harvard Business School study. It talks about hyperpartisanship and extreme polarization as the top obstacles to political progress in the US. This demonstrates that really for a robust economy and sort of ideal market conditions, that we do need a well-functioning democracy. There's a mountain of research that indicates the business community is indeed well-positioned to help advance, you know, this kind of bipartisan policy and technology solutions that ultimately will strengthen our representative democracy. We're talking about a different kind of corporate interest in politics. It's not about which party or candidate is right. Our coalition of business leaders understands through civic engagement and addressing these structural weaknesses in our political process, we can create more accessible, competitive, and fair elections. On that note, I'd like to turn to our first panelist today, and that is Pennsylvania State Representative Rosemary Brown. And Rosemary, thank you for being with us today. I would like you to share with us the importance of that bipartisan legislation in Act 77, and also if you could talk a little bit about how that was implemented across the state, because it really was sort of a wholesale, wholesale update, some 80 plus years, in the making, and it was a big deal, and many people I think are still unaware of the weight of that legislation. Could you talk a little bit about that, Rosemary?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. And I see a lot of familiar faces, so it's nice to see you, at least on Zoom. But yeah, it was a very, very big voting reform legislation, like you said, in over 80 years. It was historical. And I did support it. I did vote for it. It was a bipartisan, but not everybody voted for it. So, you know, there was different measures. I think the biggest piece with all of us, and as things unfortunately, you know, are politically very heated, it really doesn't matter what party you are. It shouldn't matter. The voices of the people are what matters. And so when you look and you want to say you want fair and honest elections, period. That's always in my heart. That's always in my gut. And listen, win, lose, indifferent. You want fair and honest and accurate and the sanctity of the vote, period. There was good and bad to the reform. I think when you start talking political stuff, boy, you know, you had that flying every which direction. But I do believe that, you know, the voting machines, it did depend on the county. Some counties felt that they really didn't need new voting machines. Other ones felt that they did. That was an issue because I think sometimes on the financial end with the cost of some of these machines, but having paper trails was very important. So there was funding allocated there to cover about 60% from, you know, the county level of trying to take care of those machines. So that was number one. The no excuse mail-in voting, you know, there's confusion there for people to say, well, wait, I thought you could always do an absentee ballot. Well, absentee ballots were there, but with an excuse, whether you were out of the country or the state for work, or you were sick or disabled. But was anybody really enforcing that? Probably not much, but you know, that's what you would normally send in your absentee ballot. That is still there. One of the changes that happened was the absentee ballot is if you can have that for a year long. So basically that could be a permanent absentee ballot for that full year. You can register for that so that every election that happens within that year, you can, they'll automatically send you an absentee ballot. So now what they would do also is then send you a reminder to re-register for that absentee ballot the next year. So it doesn't automatically go to year, but for one full year, you would get an absentee ballot if you are disabled and unable to do that. The mail-in voting is really a no excuse. It doesn't, you can do mail-in voting for anything. But you could do that, you can do that online, and you can do that by mail also. And that was a big issue. You can do that up to 50 days prior to the election. And you know, that is a big time frame. I have to tell you, that has come up a little bit, that's a very big time frame. You know, there's a lot of information that you can receive in 50 days prior to an election. So you do have to look at that and say, as a voter, you know, do you really want to make sure that you have everything? I mean, if you know it 50 days prior, that's great, you know, but we want voters to really make sure they have all the information and they feel very, very comfortable and confident with the person they're voting for. So, but that is up to 50 days. You can put that mail-in voting in. You have 15 more days to register to vote if you've never voted before. It used to be 30 days before an election. Now it's 15 days before an election. So the thought behind that is giving people more time to register to vote, become involved in the process if they never have been. And listen, that's a great thing. I think people, unfortunately, I've always talked to people, they're afraid that maybe they haven't been engaged in politics and they might be embarrassed by that sometimes, boy, I really, you know, I might be 35 or 40 and I've never voted, and they may feel like they're out of it and they've not been engaged in it. So it's hard for people sometimes to say, you know, so you're giving people that, like, get involved. But my biggest thing is, and I said this to Joe on one of our calls prior, you know the candidates the best you can. Do your research. I want very much a voter to become understanding of the good and the bad of each candidate that's representing them. No one's perfect, right? But why you like this candidate, maybe why you don't, but know that, and don't go based on, you know, just talking points or feedback. And with that, I was very supportive of the fact of removing the Republican and Democrat one-party ticket vote. I feel very strongly over the years of being in office, even before this voting legislation came out, I would have conversations with Republicans and Democrats, and they all agreed. You know, it's very smart to say, hey, listen, Gil, Rosemary, you know, Alexandra, okay, they've went through and they've put their name on this ballot. They've gone through the candidacy piece. They deserve the time to say, okay, what do I know about this candidate? And let me really think about this and know what they are, what they stand for. And that's important. And because especially I think as you become, you know, we have so much social media, you have so much going on and people, they really have to think. And we want them to think and we want them to be educated on each person and what they stand for. Because especially within the political realm, there is it's such a wide realm within all parties. You know, there's so many different ranges. So I think that you really have to look at what people stand for, what they're working towards and what they're doing. So I thought that was really important. But so no more hitting Republican, Democrat and going straight down, really pushing the voter to be very active and engaged. And again, it goes back to Joe's point where I believe the companies, people want to purchase from responsible companies, maybe not necessarily political companies, but companies that are responsible and fair, and they're smart, and they're talking about what's important to the way of life, to the way of doing business, to ethics, to character, and they're saying they want their employees to know those issues, and they want their customers to know that issue too. And so it goes right back to that. It goes back to really making the voter become informed and feel confident and good about their vote. And that's why I really like that piece. And again, you could go and party with that because that comes up a lot, but I just think it's really, really, it's respectful. It brings confidence to the voter and it really engages the voter to really think. Corporate America, the employees and the customers, like I said, you know, it was quiet for many years. I think that engagement is very, very big from, you know, being friends on Facebook with people at work and things like that. But it's also understanding the weeds of your company, not just the top line. I work for Macy's or I work for a pharmaceutical company or I do, you know, it's understanding the weeds of your company. It's understanding the heart of your company and how they want to conduct business and how they want to contribute to the world. Sounds like a very big thing, but you know, if you think about it as a person versus a company, you think about what you want to give to the world, what you want to represent, what you want to try to be remembered as, you know, and what you want people to think of you when they hear, you know, your name, Joe, and, you know, what they remember you by. And very similar, I think it's very similar to being good, being fair, being honest, and I always say admitting mistakes, you know, and maybe fixing them. Sometimes companies have to do that. They make a mistake, they have to fix it. They have to acknowledge that. They have to work with their customers and their employees, and they have to, you know, it's part of being socially responsible.
Right, right. No, well said. Yeah, politics is life, and yeah, when politics is running well, you know, the rest of our society should kind of be, you know, there. You know, I think we can see how that also affects, you know, market conditions and the opportunities for our businesses to succeed. So thank you for drawing that connection for us, Rosemary, and appreciate your time today and all your efforts. Yeah, I'd like to turn now to another Pennsylvania state rep that we have with us today, and that's Maureen Madden. Representative Madden, thank you for joining us. I'm hoping that you can share some of your thoughts on the impact of Act 77, but also I also would like to hear more about what you're hearing about some of the experiences in Monroe County around the primary on June 2nd, and maybe some of the things that you know, voters in Monroe County might like to see changed.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for asking me to be part of this panel. And I want to start by thanking the business community, certainly thanking Business for America and the Greater Pocono Chamber of Commerce and Gil and DJ Ruby and Jennifer, the fact that, and Sarah as well, Alex, now I think I've got everybody, because you're all such an important part of this, that businesses must be socially conscious and socially engaged with their employees and making sure that that their employees care about, you know, the environment or their wages. It just makes it, used to be that unions would hold voter drives and make sure that their employees got engaged through their union. And you spoke very eloquently, Joe, about social issues, about, you know, we just heard about the Washington Redskins are going to change their name because one of their biggest sponsors, FedEx, said, you know, we really want this to happen. We just feel like the climate is right. And I think since 1968, we've been waiting all this time for the climate to be right, and it certainly is now. You know, we criticize certain industries, maybe they're not paying enough or they're not doing enough, but then Amazon turns around and says, by the year 2040, every one of these vehicles that you see every 5 minutes during COVID will all be electric. And that's huge, that a corporation would commit to that, because think about how many of these vehicles, and that's not a tremendous amount of time, and they have also committed $2 billion to the environment. So our voices are being heard, and when I hear this, I think young voices are being heard. When I think of the police reform that we just passed, I think Black lives voices are being heard. So our voting and our social engagement on all that, the businesses, the small businesses, I mean, what better representation for the Latin community could they have in a beautiful day? While our Latin population is small statewide, I think it's only about 6%, and our Black population is about 11%. Here in Monroe County, that 11% becomes 19.6, and that Latin population doubles. So incredibly important to Monroe County that you all are doing that. And that kind of segues into my vote on this bill. I echo all of the good things that Rosemary said about this bill, how it is expanded, and what you mentioned, Joe, that 2 million people voted by mail. I believe it, Rosemary can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was somewhere between 12 and 14,000 people in Monroe County voted by mail. Huge numbers. We're lucky if we have that in a local election or a midterm primary, you know, ever. And we had that just in mail-in voting. So that was tremendous. And for all those reasons, this bill was great. Having said that, I am thrilled that you are, you know, talking about this and bringing light to this, because the fact that the Appropriations Committee did not appropriate any funding, no fiscal note for us to be able to really advertise and to really explain this new process in a meaningful way was one of the reasons I did not vote for the bill. I mean, if the bill was close and we wouldn't have gotten, you know, expanded voting 50 days out or no excuse mail-in voting, I would have voted for it. But the fact that it was going to pass with or without my vote, I thought it was more important to take my stand. And I differ with Rosemary a little bit, well, actually, more than a little bit on the straight ticket voting. For me, I agree with the Pennsylvania Budget and Policy Center that said that they did the research and said that straight ticket voting would create an undervote of 5,781 voters, and it could up to almost 18,000 voters. And for anyone who may not know, the undervote is the person who votes for the president or maybe the attorney general or maybe the governor, and then ignores all the rest of the voters. They actually found that that would increase with doing away with straight party voting, which I found was interesting. And I always know how I'm going to vote, always. It's the party that best describes my values consistently, the Democratic Party, the party I belong to. There would be no instance in which I would need to vote outside of my party. And if I did, I always had the option of straight, you know, of picking and choosing. I think when we're looking at expanding voting, when we're talking about one man, one vote, or in the 21st century, one person, one vote, we don't do anything to take voting rights away. And I feel like with taking away straight party voting, we took something away. And I thought that that was an important distinction to make. The other thing that really didn't set well with me was that the reimbursement, I believe Rosemary said it was up to 60% that counties would get who chose to buy new machines, and certainly that was incentive. And the incentive was there because Governor Wolf wanted there to be a paper trail. So, you know, and better than hanging chads. So, so that was important. But then at the last minute, the appropriations chair, who was the appropriations chair at the time, Stan Saylor, inserted an amendment that would tie that reimbursement to purging the voter rolls. And unless someone has died or moved, I don't think we have any right to purge voter rolls. Once you register to vote, that's your democratic right, your constitutional right to register to vote. There's no reason to purge votes, and certainly not to tie it to monetary incentive. And then there's no rhyme or reason to it. Counties can do it as they see fit. So those were just a number of the reasons why I didn't support the bill. And in the time of COVID, I'm really glad that we do have that mail-in voting. I would have liked to have seen an amendment or language in the bill that would allow people to show up at the polls and turn in their mail-in vote if they weren't able, you know, if they weren't able to get it in the mail-in time, or if they didn't get it to their voter registration office, which is allowed, excuse me. I would have liked to have let them be able to drop it off. Certainly we trust our judge of elections to protect the vote. We certainly should be able to entrust them with mail-in vote.
Thank you for that, Maureen. And yeah, you know, I think, you know, in my experience as a poll worker in Delaware County, yeah, a lot of confusion, you know, a lot of sort of not understanding vote by mail was kind of a result of Act 77. But, you know, I think to your point, county by county, there were different experiences and different ways of conducting and implementing Act 77. We only have a very short window to make any adjustments prior to November. And I know there's, you know, I know that the legislature is considering. I'm curious, Maureen, what you see as an opportunity to improve the process that might actually, you know, get done before, you know, in time for November. Is there anything that you feel strongly about that, you know, that might have a chance to be implemented via legislative action?
Sure. I mentioned that I thought all polling places ought to be drop-off points for ballots, and people should have till 8 o'clock that night to be able to drop off their ballot. Like I said, we pay and we entrust and we train our judge of elections, and by and large, they do a fabulous job for us. So why not do that? And if you requested a mail-in ballot and then it was a beautiful sunny day and you were going out anyway and you wanted to get the I voted sticker, I do this little Facebook thing on every election day, show me a picture of your sticker, and people post pictures of their little I voted sticker. So it's important. I voted in person because I visit the polls and I talk to people. But I think if you decide at the last minute you want to vote in person, you should be able to hand the poll worker inside your mail-in ballot, and they should be able to write next to your name that you handed it in, and you should be able to walk into the polls and be able to vote. And I think perhaps we should, I don't think any of us believe that we're going to know the results on the day of the election in any of our races. And I'm patient enough, and I've run, this is I think my 5th or 6th time running, that I don't need that instant gratification of knowing by, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock if I've won. I think with the COVID and so many people relying on mail-in voting and the surge of mail-in votes that we're going to see across this state and the country, I believe, I think maybe we should extend the deadline to receive mail-in votes, maybe 48, 72 hours, so that we make sure that everybody's vote counts. It's brand new. Why not make exceptions to the rule? Right.
No, that's a great point, Maureen. At the state level, we've heard that, voting by mail is a partisan issue at the federal level. We kind of hear some of that chatter from time to time, but at the state level and at the county level, make no mistake, Republicans and Democrats alike want people in their districts to vote safely. And hopefully we can make it easier for people to vote in November. So thank you, Representative Madden. And would like to now turn to some of our business representatives that we have on the call with us today. If we could turn to Jennifer Narkvich. Jennifer, you and I had a chance to talk, and I know you feel strongly about people participating in elections, and I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about how you might, why you feel so strongly, and then how you might encourage other business leaders to play a role in encouraging voting, like you are.
Sure. So it's extremely important for everyone to take the opportunity, either via mail-in vote or going to the polls, to have your voice heard and vote. It's that important to me. I run a marketing and advertising company, so I'm on social media, on Google all day long, and so are the wonderful women that work for me, work with me, I should say. And giving the time, it's very important. Just get it, go do it. I actually have a mail-in. I do a mail-in, and it's because I have my daughter is having a baby in 2 weeks, so we're trying to stay very safe in our household, because obviously you guys saw I have a 4-year-old that pops his head up every once in a while. So I want to keep everybody safe around here. But it's important to be able to vote on a county level, a state level, and make sure that we're all out there voting. My thing is, because I'm on social media so much, my boss is over here. He likes to show his head sometimes. Sorry, but my thing, I'm on social media, and there's so much chatter on social media. Everybody has an opinion, and whether no matter what party you're a part of or not a part of, if you want to say what you want to say and really hide and do what you want to say on social media, just vote. Just take the time and vote, because then your voice is heard.
With your marketing hat on, I'm curious to hear you talk about what kinds of benefits you see among clients that you work with, or other businesses that you see who get involved with civic engagement or take stands on important civic issues in their community. There is an inherent self-interest when we run our businesses, but I'm just curious to hear what you see as some of the benefits that are reaped from businesses who see this as important.
Well, I mean, everything that our legislators and representatives for Pennsylvania do for us is extremely important. I mean, as a small business owner, they got a lot of things taken care of with the small business associations and different opportunities as a small business owner, and working for small business owners, they were able to help with. I subscribe to all party newsletters, so I can get every information that's out there, because you have to understand everything that's happening. And the big thing is, for every one of my clients, is they make sure they have time. If there is plenty of time when the polls are open, before and after, and during. A lot of my clients, they take your lunch, go do what you got to do, go vote. And I know my very good friend works for the voter registration office at the courthouse, and they make it very easy for everybody to either go down to the polls or do it online, and do the paperwork online. I know it was very easy for us.
Excellent. Great. Jennifer, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the great work that you do in the community as well. I'd like to turn, if we can, to our next panelist, Gil Coronado. Gil, you work with a lot of different performers and personalities and businesses who advertise. Yeah. Why do you think more businesses are paying attention to things like voter turnout and safe elections and some of the things that businesses have been outspoken about in recent weeks and months?
I would say I think it's the current climate. I feel everyone. There's so much going on in the world today. People have become more sensitive to family, to what's important to them, and realizing, you know, the opportunity that they have, which is to have a voice this coming fall. And I think that your organization is just unbelievable. When you reached out to me to share more about the organization, you know, all the opportunities that we have now to express our opinion this fall is unbelievable. And I think the more people know about it, they will respond in a way that it will be a very exciting time this fall.
Can you talk a little bit about how this kind of civic engagement can make a difference in companies and communities?
Well, I think it's for the better of the community. I think when I do events, I think the sponsors come in to support the community, whether it's you know, a food bank or this organization. It's all for the best interest of the community, and I feel like you know, the sponsors and advertisers and the people that attend these events, they understand that, and I feel like we all have a way to support in the community. And I think that given everything that's going on today, I feel like it's even more prevalent now because we've been able to spend more time at home with family, friends, and really kind of appreciate what we have. I feel like it's such an incredible time right now, but I think that moving forward, I think that you're going to see a really impressive election this fall.
That's great. Yeah, it seemed like a lot of pain, but there's a lot of reflection, it seems like, and there is sort of this sense that we may be resetting some things or recalibrating some things that maybe got a little. Yeah.
And even the way that you know, events are being done. I mean, who would think that we would be doing events virtually? I think trying to connect with people in a way, and look at this amazing forum that you put together, right? So just connecting in a way so that we can still support the community that we all adore here, you know.
Right. And Gil, before I let you go, I'd like to just have you tell us a little bit about what this type of education campaign, the Ready to Vote PA education campaign we're working on, why is it especially important to the Latinx community?
Well, I think it's important because it's first of all, it's a great platform. We're communicating on so many different levels, social media, but also to let the Latinx community know that you don't have to be a business owner to have a voice this fall. You could be an individual. You could be, you know, a worker in, you know, in a store, or you could be a small business owner like myself, or you could be a large corporation. You know, everyone has a voice, and that's the important thing for this fall. I think that you know, with DJ Ruby and I, we do a lot of events here in the community, and we're in touch with a lot of people, and we hear the thoughts of these community members. And I think that with your organization, I think that they're going to understand all these resources and tools that you're providing. And I think it's going to make that process a lot more smoother going this fall. And it's just wonderful. I'm very excited for it.
Well, we're excited to work with you on it, Gil. So thank you for your time today and for your commitment to all of this work. You referenced DJ Ruby, and I would love to introduce DJ Ruby now. I know that you have a unique perspective because of the work you do, and you know, you're an entertainer. You're out there, you know, working with the masses and wide swaths of people. And you're also you know, involved in the hospitality industry at a prominent entertainment venue and food establishment in Blue Tequila in East Stroudsburg. And I would like to, I know we talked about it when we spoke earlier, but I'd love to hear you just describe some of the challenges that you've seen, you know, that you've faced and your colleagues have faced in the food service and hospitality and entertainment industries over the last few years, navigated them, because I know it's been particularly challenging for those industries.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you once again for inviting me. and see my friends over here and meeting you also. Thank you very much. And to me, I feel very proud of my community, especially seeing you guys, all of you, taking your own time to be together and basically to educate our people, because not everybody knows about voting, how to vote. A lot of immigrants in this country become a USA citizen, and they don't even get interest to vote because they don't know exactly how politicians work in behalf of our citizens to become better. So they just see blue, red, green, white, you know what I'm saying? So they don't see specifically what you guys or what we work for. So it's very important to give them the message, enforce, this is, I, I, I I can easily be like an ambassador for We Are Business for America, because every single person I connect with, and Gil knows about this, in a certain way, they are building business. They are building their own business. So they are supporting our country. They are supporting in so many ways. And I'm telling you, because I'm a business owner. I'm also employee for the school district of Strasbourg. And I know the system. So it's just like you have to be more focused on, or try to clarify the differences between who is who. What is your like ideology, like what I like, what I don't like, and this is how you choose your candidate. But it's very, very, very important to let them know how the system works, how Republicans work, how Democrats work, and any other parties out there. So to me, being one of the main supporters for our community, including Gil Coronado, including all of you guys, but I work with Gil, and we try to keep in touch with our community so they know that we don't forget about them. And other than that, it's educate them. Hey, are you a USA citizen? You have the right to vote. You don't speak English. Let's find out if we have the guy in Spanish. Look, I can facilitate this for you, because our voice counts. I believe in that, because when you increase and you spread the word and you increase the voters, then our representative works better because they have numbers up there. So this is the way how I see it. So I'm more like unify the community. This is my perspective.
There's specific challenges in the immigrant community, and certainly in the industries that you work in, when it comes down to election day and actually having the time, or to actually get there, whether it's service workers who are usually juggling maybe 2 or 3 gigs, or it's somebody who's got to travel for work, or maybe has to deal with some daycare issues or childcare issues. Can you just talk a little bit about what you've encountered in terms of your own colleagues and the people that work for you and work alongside you, and how difficult sometimes it is to just literally get there and cast your ballot?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. Some people are okay, some people are just good, and I know some people, and I'm very involved with the Latin community, so I know a lot of people who are struggling, always with jobs, like you just mentioned, daycare services, um, any other benefits that they can have that they don't know. It's very challenging because with the whole situation with the pandemic, we have approximately about 40 families who depends of this business, and they honestly they still don't know how or where to go. They don't know, and it's a very challenging because you want to educate and you want to, but you can't be like a babysitter. But if we do a conference, we do I would say like a rally or something like that, and we can spread the word, you know, connect everybody together and let them know, get them educated. I mean, right now it's a lot of people. In my job, in my regular job as a school bus driver for Strasbourg, I'm also a CDL instructor by PennDOT. I see a lot of people that they're looking for better opportunity, and becoming a school bus driver is not an easy job. But oh my God, the benefits we got, I feel really spoiled, and that's what that's what I would love to share to everybody, to tell them, hey, you don't know English? Look, it's Northampton Community College right here. They have some English classes in there, ESL classes, okay? You wanna become a school bus driver, you get full benefits by the state. You know, you are investing yourself into the system, into the government system, because when I turn, I don't know, 60, 65, if God bless me with more years to come, then I won't be able to drive the school bus, and then who's gonna support me? You know, working for cash, for no cash. Work with the system. Invest in the tax, invest in your bonus and your Medicare and your Social Security, because after that, then how are you gonna survive? And that's one of the main things I like to encourage people to become better, but at the same time supporting the system.
That's great.
I mean,
Thank you for making that connection, DJ Ruby, and we'll look forward to staying connected with you as we move along. Before we get to any questions, I'd like to just briefly talk about a little more about the Ready to Vote PA Toolkit, and Alex has included the link in the chat function. We encourage you all to download the toolkit and start operationalizing it in your company's outreach to customers and employees. Included are many graphic images that describe the new voting procedures that our Representatives Madden and Brown spoke about today. Talks about the deadlines and the resources that can be shared with employees and customers alike. And this is designed to be shared in emails and newsletters, website, an intranet, or in-office or in-store signage. The information is verified by the Department of State and will include the latest updates from any legislative action or the Department of State over the summer. So we're really hoping that the toolkit is shared widely among your colleagues and at other companies or in any trade associations or other business groups that you might be involved in. It only takes a minute or so to download it, and doesn't cost anything, and it's going to make civic engagement a lot easier. It shouldn't be a heavy lift, and it really isn't. We also promote other civic engagement initiatives through Business for America, and I'd like to just briefly mention those. One is the Time to Vote program. It's a national, nonpartisan, and business-led initiative that was started by Patagonia, supported by the likes of Walmart and JP Morgan Chase. And the idea is to get companies to commit to making a plan that ensures their employees have enough time and resources to cast their ballot on election day. That could be paid time off, that could be planned time off, it could be having somebody like me or an election expert from the state to come in and talk to your employees about the mechanisms of applying for a mail-in ballot, what it looks like, and what you can expect when you get your mail-in ballot. So the Time to Vote program is maketimetovote.org, and I encourage you all to take a look at that as well. And all of these resources are available on our website, which the toolkit will direct you to. So we also, I just want to mention briefly, we also have some 200 now plus signatories from the national business community, including a couple dozen in Pennsylvania, for our sign-on letter to Congress, to congressional leaders, urging them to provide more funding to state and local governments to run safe and secure elections in November. And there's an ideologically diverse study out of the Pitt Cyber program that indicates there's a $70 million shortfall in Pennsylvania to run safe and secure elections. So that means funding for personal protective equipment. That means funding for scanners to scan those new modern ballots. That means poll workers. That means additional training and things like that. So this has led us. This shortfall has led us to create something called Operation Vote Safe. This is a pilot platform that is going to be piloted in Pennsylvania, among a few other states, where we're matching the needs of local election officials with the resources of the regional business community. So the idea is that, there might be company A in the Poconos might have, 500 employees, and they've got tons of people that could potentially be poll workers. Or there might be a local technology company that can provide, a dozen scanners to the local election office that they can use at various precincts. This platform, we believe, is going to be incredibly impactful for November. The business community, in addition to, making it known that civic engagement is important by getting involved in things like Ready to Vote and Time to Vote, that's fantastic and vitally important. The election in November is an urgent need, and we've held elections through pandemics before. We've held elections before through civil war before. There's no reason we can't have safe and accessible elections in 2020 in a global pandemic. And we're working on making sure that in Pennsylvania and beyond, local and state election officials have the things they need to make that happen. So, Alex, I just want to check in. Is there any questions or that we should address before we sign off?
I just have one question that was submitted that says, do the state reps support making Election Day a state holiday?
It's a good question. There's certainly a lot of support out there for the idea of, like, as in other countries, making Election Day a state holiday where everybody kind of has off. And if Representative Brown or Representative Madden are still on the line, wondering if either of you might be interested in responding to that.
I'll respond to it. I am in favor of one of the many wonderful points DJ Ruby articulated was that some people have no problem going to vote and other people do have a problem going to vote. So, I mean, if we're really serious about one man, one vote and expanding voting and giving everyone the opportunity to vote, we have to make it easy as possible. And a half a day or a full day, yes, I think it's extremely important.
Thank you.
Joe, I'll add on. I think, this has definitely been a conversation for a while. But when you look at you look at the reforms that we have done, there's good pieces to this because I think a lot of people really do like to go to the poll. So, there's some people that just won't do a mail-in. They just don't want to do a ballot. They just won't. But we've given that expansion of that mail-in voting, which really gives people the time to vote. It gives them the opportunity to vote, feel comfortable within their voting parameters, that if they feel that if they're uncomfortable going to the polls, they have that kind of privacy with their mail-in ballot. And then the other thing that I think was really great too, in the legislation, it mandated that the ballot has to be on the county site. So the sample ballot, not only are they getting on a mail-in ballot or they're able to pull that up, it's on the county site. So there's ability for somebody to really take time and to think and make their vote You know, so I think there's a lot to this, you know, so yeah, you could make it a holiday, but you also have this other piece that has really expanded and given an expansion and given people the time and given them the resources and given them the knowledge to be able to really, you know, do their vote confidently. So, you know, you've got a lot to this, I think. I think it has to be something that has to be looked at on a probably financial basis and an accessibility basis as well.
With that, we should probably try to get everybody out in an hour. I feel incredibly grateful for everybody's involvement today. I want to thank everybody for helping ensure that the Poconos are ready to vote in November. And I do hope that you'll reach out to myself or Alex to get more involved in any of our initiatives. And I'll be certainly following up with each and every one of you at some point with some kind of ask. So thank you for being involved and for making this a priority in the Poconos. It's very important, and it's great to see people step up in the Poconos like this. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll certainly be in touch on other programming very soon. Take care, everybody. Thank you.